It is lights out and away we go. Hello, racers. Welcome to episode 15. Episode 15 of the Hard or Soft Formula One podcast. I am your host, as always, Adrian Huff, and I'm joined by my co-host, RJ McCullough. What is going on, RJ?
Adrian, good to chat again. Got my Lewis shirt on, ready for Baku. Big week coming up. It's a big week in Canadian sports. Well, big couple weeks in Canadian sports. We've got the Canadian Open PGA Tour event in Toronto right now, and then next week, Montreal Grand Prix. NHL playoffs are still going on. Just lost the last Canadian team in that, but yeah, it's good time to be in Canada. The summers are fantastic here. So aside from that, you, my friend, have done another weigh-in. So let's get an update.
Yes. I'm trying to remember exactly the measurements last time. I believe I was like 275, something like that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you had lost like 20 total, maybe.
I think I was. Yeah, I think it was 15 total. I'm right under 20 now. So
okay.
we're right around the 70 mark. So it's going a little bit slower, but still keeping up the hard work and still on track for definitely still on track for November. So we'll see.
Yeah, you're doing great. Keep it up.
Yes, sir.
Looking good. Yeah, so before we don't really have too much to talk about this week, so we're gonna kind of just shoot the shit a little bit and then preview Baku. But I mentioned a bunch of times my previous golf endeavor, and I love golf, so I'm gonna fill you in what's going on in the golf world right now because it's pretty interesting.
Hit me with it.
Okay, so there's this new Live Golf Tour, LIV, and it's Saudi Arabian backed, so they just have like hundreds or billions of dollars to spend to try and increase the eyes on Saudi Arabia. But obviously they've done some horrendous human rights things, including capturing and murdering a journalist in broad daylight with Jamal Khashoggi. So anyways, they're trying to make this new golf tour, and they're trying to give guys tons of money to join this golf tour, but most of them are turning it down. Tiger Woods was offered apparently $900 million to leave the PGA Tour and join this golf tour, and he turned it down. So that just goes to show how horrible what is going on over there for Tiger Woods to turn down $900 million. It's not worth ruining his legacy. But a couple of Phil Mickelson, we talked about him on the show, he accepted. They paid him. This hasn't come out yet, but between $200 and $250 million, and he's 51 years old or so. Like his career is on the downturn. And then one of the top golfers in the world, Dustin Johnson, American guy, kind of from your area a little bit, not necessarily, but I think he's from like Myrtle Beach, so not too far from you. Yeah. He just accepted it too, and he's married to Wayne Gretzky's daughter. He's like one of the top guys on the PGA Tour, and they apparently gave him $150 million. So they're just throwing around crazy money to try and get people to come over, but that is what's going on. And this week is the Canadian Open PGA Tour event, which I mentioned. But it's also the first event for that Live Tour. So the PGA Tour is trying to get like all the players to come to Canada this week to show like this is the good tour. And it's a bit of a media frenzy. So Phil Mickelson showed up today at the first event, and he just was wearing all black. I'm going to put the picture in, but all black, leather, black jacket, like scruff all over his face, just looking like a guy that's going to come in and fuck your wife. So it's quite a scene. So it's going to be very interesting to have Phil do media for the first time in a while. But that's the golf world update. If you're wondering, if you're probably it's probably kicking around on social media a little bit, like what the hell's going on in the golf world? Now you know.
I'm looking at a picture right now of him in his all black getup. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So the Saudi golf tour is called what again? How do you pronounce
LIV.
LIV. Okay. Do they? I'm assuming it's like it just tours all over the world, like different golf courses. It's not like set in the Middle East exclusively.
It's like more like Asian countries usually, but the first one is in London, England, and there's only like 20 players playing in it, I think, but the winner gets like $8 million or something, which is like you'd have to have like a career year on the PGA Tour to do that. So it is like stupid money, but it's like just the morality and all that. So there's guys that are like middle of the pack where it's like, I don't know, if you gave someone $100 million, that's not that good. I get it. But if you're Tiger or Phil, it's kind of like not worth the money.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It also doesn't make a lot of sense offering somebody, hundreds of millions of dollars to play for $8 million.
I know, it's just like an appearance
Yeah,
fee to get them to leave the PGA Tour. Like Dustin Johnson was sponsored by RBC, and they dropped him. But I mean, he's getting $150 million, so I'm sure that's more than what RBC was paying him.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like stupid money. It'd be like if they made like a new, trying to make a new F1, and they just tried to get like 5-6 drivers, 3 teams, and they're paying each guy like $200 million, and they offered Lewis like $900 million or something. Like,
Oh my God.
it's like that.
That would get rid of paid drivers. Well, no, it would create new. It would be created like a new type of paid driver.
Yeah, yeah, only the best, I guess.
What the fuck, dude? That's insane. I mean, I was gonna make a joke when you first said that there's like a Saudi, like golf tour. I was gonna be like, oh, so they're trying to be like the FIA.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I know people tuning in to hear F1, but we're gonna throw a little few other things at you from time to time.
Yeah, especially on the off weeks, it makes sense
Yeah.
us being able to talk about like different types of sports that interest us. I have not really been following. I know there's a lot going on in like the NBA right now, but I am I just do not keep up with that. At least right now I don't.
It's a lot, but it's kind of my job, so I have to keep up with it all. I'm actually at my job right now in one of the studios here.
Nice.
But yeah, on the topic of podcasts, we were going to talk about this a few weeks ago, but we didn't really have time. Our dream podcast guest for this podcast, one F1 person, so someone tangentially related to F1, doesn't have to be a driver, and then one non-F1 person. But the caveat is they have to be honest. They can't come on and bullshit.
Okay.
This would be someone that took truth serum, came on the podcast.
Oh shit.
You want to go first?
So one driver and one celebrity?
Or just one person in F1. Doesn't have to be a driver.
Oh,
and
okay.
One like non-F1 person. Could be an actor, could be a whatever.
Holy shit. Okay, so 3 names.
2 names.
Oh, okay. So you want a driver and somebody affiliated with F1. Sorry, I thought you said a driver,
no. Yeah,
somebody
just one
in
F1 person,
and then a
just
celebrity.
one F1 person in general.
Gotcha.
Could be a driver, doesn't have to be a driver, and then just one other person. So 2 people.
Holy shit. Okay. If we I mean it's hard not to pick like a driver, like that would it's 2 reasons, because I would love to talk to the driver or a driver just to pick their brain, and just to be able to talk to a Formula 1 driver would be amazing. And also the views that would do, the clicks that we get. Oh my God. Shit. I mean, definitely Max or Lewis.
Okay.
It's gotta be one of those, man.
What would your hard hitting question be?
Okay. In the interest of like fairness and unbiased, I'll say my pick is actually going to be. I'm gonna say Daniel Ricciardo. That's my pick.
Okay.
And
I like that.
I think my question would be: are you tired of all these media outlets asking you if you're gonna be back next year when you'd already have a contract?
And then he'd say, and that question's coming from essentially a media outlet, but, but yeah, no, he probably is tired of it, but I guess it's part of the job. So my F1 person would be, it's a bit of a surprise. It's not gonna be Lewis. It's gonna be Michael Massey. I'm gonna get him on this podcast, and I'm gonna take him to task, and I'm gonna get him to tell us what really went on behind the scenes, because I said they have to tell the truth. I don't want him on if he's gonna bullshit me, but I want him to come on and tell the truth about what happened last year in Abu Dhabi, what was going on behind the scenes, what was going on in the moment, how he feels afterwards, what his life's been like. And that would also do numbers. We do get good numbers off that too. So.
Oh my God, yes. Featuring Michael Massey, that would do waves, bro.
Yeah, hard or soft featuring Michael Massey.
I mean, shit, we don't have truth serum, but we just got to get him liquored up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. That seems to do the trick for F1 people in general.
Yeah, if you want to get an F1 person to either tell the truth or act out, just get them drunk.
Yeah, we'll maybe touch on that in a bit. But then for non-Formula One people, mine, just because he's my favorite athlete of all time, would be Tiger Woods. Also, he has crazy outside of golf life that would be very interesting to ask him about. To get his side of the story, it's been well documented, all the stuff that happened, but to hear his side of things and just what it's like to be one of the greatest athletes of any sport ever of all time. Like, there's only a handful of people that can relate or even just like openly talk about that, and he'd be one of them. So I think that'd be interesting. What about you?
Oh, gosh, I'd probably go the athlete train because I mean it would be cool to have like a celebrity. I mean, all athletes are celebrities, I guess, but like a stand up. But I think I would pick. I think I'd have Drew Brees on.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, he's by far my favorite football player. The Saints are my favorite team, so yeah, I would absolutely love to like have a combo with Drew Brees. That'd be the coolest thing ever.
So speaking of Drew Brees, he was so obviously retired like 2 years ago, and then he was hired by one of the main networks to do NFL coverage, to be the broadcaster for this year. He was on like a panel last year, but he was hired to do play-by-play this year. I think they gave him like the offer was like $100 million or something for like 10 years, maybe a little less. I don't know. But anyways, he out of nowhere, like maybe a month ago, he announced that he wasn't doing it. So the speculation is he went there, they did a bunch of like run throughs, and he just wasn't very good at it.
Right.
That's the speculation. But it is a hard job. Like,
Yeah.
just because you were great playing the sport doesn't mean you're going to be great talking about the sport.
Right. And in my head, I'm like, if I was like I mean, I would love to talk Formula One for $100 million.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I could, for $1 million, I could literally talk about the sport nonstop for like a month straight.
Yeah.
But completely different, personality types. But I could definitely see that. I mean, not every Super Bowl winning quarterback is a Troy Aikman. You're not going to get like
Yeah.
you're not going to get both. So
Right.
that's not like the biggest surprise in the world to me. But I would love to just have like a sort of like a just a genuine like man to man, like just tell me what it's like to be like a star quarterback in the NFL.
Mhm.
Just tell me like what your day to day life is like.
Yeah.
Besides, the shitty TikToks that Tom Brady posts because those are stupid.
Oh god, yeah. He's getting a bag to do announcing as well. Okay, I guess we can move on to a little bit of F1 talk. We're not going to spend too much time on this next one, but it does bear mentioning. Going to kind of beat around the bush. For those that are aware of the story, they can put two and two together. But I'm just going to say and let you discuss it that Red Bull is notorious now for breeding bad boys. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Oh yeah, you've got your Mark Webbers, your Sebastian Vettels, your Daniel Kvyats. What was he ever on? I don't think he was ever on the
I don't think
actual
it
Red
was
Bull team. But
close enough through Max though.
Pierre
Still,
Gasly, arguably Alex Albon is probably the most like wholesome, tame Red Bull driver that they've ever had. But yeah, Sergio got in a little bit of trouble. We're not gonna speculate or talk about his like personal life or whatever. But a video did circulate of him at like I don't know if it was a Red Bull party. I saw a bunch of like Red Bull uniforms, but they were obviously on like a yacht in Monaco. He was dancing with a woman. Uh, and he did just have the newborn with his wife. So he made a post about that. I can pull that up actually if we want to read it.
sure. I will say one picture he was dancing. The other two, a little more than dancing.
Yeah, it was more like grabbing.
There was some groping, and then there was the one in the club where someone tried to capture them, and then a rebel person was like, "No, no, no, don't film that."
Yeah. There was that video of him like in the club, like super, super close. But
Yeah,
I did see a lot of comments that people were like, you know, when you're in the club, it's super loud. That's kind of how you talk to people.
oh
But
yeah,
at the same time, all the videos, it just
and he,
it didn't look
yeah,
good.
and he addressed it, so it obviously did happen. I
Hmm.
think people could probably pick up what we're putting down by now, but
Yeah.
if you haven't, just Google it because we're not in a
Yes.
position to take moral authority. But it
No, no, no.
wasn't a great
Yeah.
look for a guy that just had a baby.
Yeah. And like you said, we're not trying to, say that we're better than him or anything like that. But he made an apology for it. The video got out there. It is what it is. He posted the next day on Instagram, obviously in Spanish, but it was translated. He said, quote, I have seen the videos that have been circulating about me, and I take responsibility for it. It was a bad party that I didn't know how to control at the height of the person that I am, but it was just that, a very bad party. People close to me know my values and the type of person that I am. For those who ask me, we are more united than ever, me and my wife. And for those who just want to hurt us, I wish you the best. Thank you all for your love, and I apologize to all the people who love me because those videos do not represent me, not at all. We will not talk about this topic anymore. Whoops. Which only makes us forget the great moment we are living as a family. Thank you. So, pretty basic apology. It's just, I don't know. It's more, I don't know. You can sit and judge a guy for mistakes that he makes, but it's more just that I'm sure he's just pissed off that he got caught.
Yeah. And I mean, it'd be pretty hypocritical of me to have Tiger Woods as my favorite athlete and then like ridicule a guy for having a little extramarital action. So
That's a good point.
yeah. So we'll just leave it at that. I do want to talk about another guy that kind of had his foot in his mouth, not as publicly, but this one was done, or sorry, more publicly. This one was done publicly on purpose. I kind of stumbled through that transition, but FIA President Ben Sulayem, I'm definitely mispronouncing that name, but he came out and gave a weird quote on the question was, what should the sport of Formula One not become, in your opinion? And I'm just going to read this verbatim. Ben Sulayem, quote, Niki Lauda and Alain Prost only cared about driving. Now, Sebastian Vettel drives a rainbow bicycle, Lewis is passionate about human rights, and Norris addresses mental health. Everybody has the right to think. To me, it is about deciding whether we should impose our beliefs in something over the sport all the time. I am from an Arabian culture. I am international and Muslim. I do not impose my beliefs on other people. No way, never. If you look at my operation in the UAE, 16 nationalities. Name me one federation that has that many nationalities. On top, there are over 34% women in 7 religions and even more Christians than Muslims. I am proud because it creates credibility and merit. But do I go and pose my beliefs? No. The rules are there. Even now, there are issues when it comes to, for example, jewelry. I didn't write that. Sort of I don't like, he's kind of like making fun of the guys for having, not making fun of, like criticizing them for having opinions on things like human rights.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes into this whole thing about his background and stuff, but wants to make it clear that he doesn't pose his beliefs as he explains his entire background and belief system. I don't know. Just seems like a sort of weird thing for the president of the FIA to come out and say, we don't want our drivers having opinions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a fucking ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that, little comments like this are helping the relationship between F1 and the FIA because,
Yeah.
There's like all those inside reports that Formula One's trying to completely separate from the FIA, which, could be a great thing because it seems like all of the biggest fuck ups have come from the FIA, but that is just like the most idiotic take ever. It's like I don't know. It seems sort of like he's trying to come off as like, hey, we should all have our own thoughts and our own opinions, but it's clearly like he's like, like it's clear like what he's trying to say with the rainbow bicycle and bringing up Lewis and
So it's like
honestly
all the things.
and throwing in Lando, bringing up mental health. It's like you don't want somebody talking about mental health.
I mean, like these are like the 3 biggest issues right now, like worldwide, except for maybe like gun stuff in the US. But
Yeah.
like that Vettel drives a rainbow bicycle, like that's a pretty like that's um insinuating is the wrong word, but the tone in that is very homophobic.
Yeah.
Lewis is passionate about human rights, like that's like a little bit racist given who Lewis is and the reason why he's so passionate about human rights. And then Norris addresses mental health, like that's arguably the biggest issue in the world right now that's finally getting some talk. So it's very, very strange. And it's also untrue that Niki Lauda and Alain Prost only cared about driving. They were pretty vocal to the point where they canceled the race because of Niki Lauda wanting to make sure everyone was safe. And that has to do with driving, but there's stories about them doing stuff outside the track too. So it's just honestly disappointing. Not surprising, but disappointing.
Oh no. I mean, Senna, he was like an open Christian. He talked about Christianity all the time. He frequently said, I want to thank God. He would say all that shit all the time. nobody said that was bad. It's like, it's Senna. Let him. That's his beliefs. That's what he wants to talk about. That's totally fine. I mean, if like James Hunt, if he had like a Twitter, like,
Oh God.
yeah, you can't imagine.
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
can talk
It's
about
just
drinking and banging girls all the time, but God forbid someone wants to talk about mental health. Like,
exactly. It's like, forget all of the huge like human rights issues that his country, you know, oppresses people with. But it's just it's funny to me that it's like, it's just a really offhanded way to try to be like, shut the fuck up. I don't care what you think.
yeah.
Because I mean, he brings up that he's a Muslim, but again, in the issues that he brought up, he didn't talk about religion. He talked about homosexuality, climate change, and mental health. So just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Very, very just naive, boneheaded, like
Yeah.
I don't know, read the room a little bit.
hmm
Um,
I do not think the FIA is very good at that at
no,
all.
it's shocking, in fact,
hmm
how it's like I'm used to North American sports where yeah, they have their blunders, but it's all very like they all understand the value of PR and how much that affects the bottom line. And F1 is openly all about making money, Formula One and FIA and all that, and they're horrible at PR and controlling
Right.
the narrative on things. So um, on a bit of a, I think that's enough on that. On a bit of a lighter note, though, again, something I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, but we have been very open in our praise of WTF1 on this podcast.
Yes.
Another, probably the top F1 podcast, a good website and all that.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
we both noticed in the last week or so, I don't know if they hired someone new or what, but they are towing the line of too much clickbait. They've put out, just wrote down, I didn't write down that, but in the last few days alone, they've had extremely clickbaity articles about Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Mick Schumacher, and Daniel Ricciardo. And that was just at a very quick glance. The one you pointed out to me, the Lewis one, was basically like Lewis gives Mercedes an ultimatum or a deadline, and all it said was
Yeah.
like he wants to win by Silverstone. Like,
Yeah.
and the stuff about like Max may retire early, and then it's just he said he doesn't know what his life plans are after his contract. They said
hmm
stuff about Danny Ricciardo. They said Mick Schumacher got a warning from Gunther Steiner, and it was just like Gunther Steiner said, yeah, it's not good that he's crashing cars. Like that's not a warning.
Yeah.
There was something about Daniel Ricciardo, Lee McLaren. There's just been a whole bunch of stuff, and it's like you're not a tabloid. Like
hmm
I don't know. They're usually one of my first go-to places to get information for F1. So
Oh, for sure.
it's a little disappointing to see them kind of going down that route, but who knows? Maybe they just got to tell their new guy to take it easy with that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not just WTF1.
No,
There's like Sky Sports is arguably worse.
yeah,
Um, there's just, I don't know. I think it's just more like, I think just journalism as a whole has just kind of gone down the shitter because it's all been about like, let's get people to click. Because like you see an article that says Lewis gives warning about Mercedes performance. Like, it's intentionally phrased to be like without saying it, they're saying, "Oh, Lewis is warning Toto that if the car doesn't perform well, he's gone." But in actuality, he said, like you said, "I just want to, I would like to win Silverstone. I want a competitive car by then." And the same with Ricardo and Mick. It's just like it's and again, we're very involved with like F1 and all the news cycles. We do a lot of reading about breaking stories and news and just the race weekend. It just, I'm sure it's a problem over all sports, but it just seems like such a huge problem, like just huge, like clickbait titles to where you'll get this like something like the Lewis thing, but then you click and it's two paragraphs. It's like,
yeah, I know, and that's yeah. I kind of expect it from big, even like with ESPN and stuff. I kind of expect it from the big place like that because yeah, they're it's all bottom line, it's all money. But I don't know. Like I said, WTF1 had sort of become like my trusted source for for F1 news, and I hope that they don't steer more into because that just turns me off of clicking on their articles.
for sure. And they do a great job during the races, but yeah, those clickbait articles definitely are just super tiring. Especially, I don't want to like dwell on this super long, but I'm so sick of hearing about Daniel Ricciardo. Like they need to just lay off this dude. It's to the point like, I mean, it's fun to talk about like, oh, Danny's struggling. Will he still have a seat? It's like they need to it is like the media is intentionally trying to like sour the relationship between
Yeah.
Daniel and McLaren like faster. And they're doing the same thing with Max and Sergio. Like they're
Yeah.
instigating them. They're being like, Max, if Sergio starts to catch up with you and you start fighting him in the title championship, is this gonna be a Max and Daniel situation? Like they're trying to cause problems, and it's so annoying.
Yeah. And I guess that's traditionally is a bit more of a European tabloid thing to do. Like in the UK, they're notorious for being all over their soccer players, and even when like
Oh
they have
yeah.
golf tournament stuff over there, they don't pull punches on their questions, which I appreciate. But uh, it's like everybody loves Daniel Ricciardo, and you're trying to put a wedge between. I don't know. It's like you're looking for something to just put a wedge between either him and McLaren or him and the fans or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And same with Perez and Red Bull. Like, I get they're trying to create storylines, but we don't really need to create storylines. There's so many good
Mm-hmm.
storylines. If you just put a little bit of effort in, you can write a good story about that. You don't need to try and make. It just goes back to like the journalism thing, or journalism is
Mm-hmm.
basically dying a quick death. It has been for a while, but a similar, I guess, on the same vein, we have the U.S. TV rights are coming up, and ESPN has them right now. They got in at a good time, obviously. It's been a boom in the U.S. and Canada, but that's coming up, and Netflix apparently is in negotiations. So we talked about this the other day, that in my traditional sports media background, that's been generally like the fear for the last 10 years or so, is that if Netflix gets into the live sports game, which they have pretty deep pockets, I don't know how deep, but if they can get into the live sports game, that's gonna, like, that's the only thing like Sportsnet here, that's where we make all our money, is live sports, because
Mm-hmm.
it's the only thing you really have to watch live is sports these days. So it's a huge get for advertisers to have that. If Netflix can get on that, it's not only way more accessible to everyone, because Netflix is very accessible and easy to use, but that takes a huge chunk out of the traditional sports program. So, but on the actual side of like as a viewer, because that's like my point of view from like the business side of it, but from a viewer, do you think it would be good if Netflix took over, or do you think ESPN should keep it?
I think there's pros and cons to both for sure. With ESPN, there's you have the temptation to buy F1 TV as well because you don't have as good of like access. But with Netflix, if it was something like pay an extra $5 and you get to watch all the quality of the practices and the GP live, I would be okay with that. I actually looked it up, and ESPN actually extended their original contract in 2019. Do you want to take a guess of how much they were, or how much they are currently spending per year for the rights for F1 streaming for TV?
500 million? I have no idea.
No, it is surprisingly low.
Oh,
Um, in 2019, it was extended for 5 million per year.
holy shit!
And now Liberty Media, with the recent surge of Formula One popularity, is seeking as much as 75 million per year for its next TV rights deal. So
Yeah,
yeah, they're wanting that price jump.
yeah. I'm just wanting to look this up quick, because here, Joe Rogers deal. Because here at Sportsnet, like they signed a 12-year deal to get, okay, yeah, 12-year agreement. So this is just to broadcast NHL, which doesn't have nearly the worldwide reach that Formula One has in Canada. A 12-year, $5.3 billion just to broadcast Canada hockey in Canada. So that is a bargain of all bargains to be broadcasting F1 in the USA,
Right.
just 10 times the audience for 5 million. That's the return on investment. Must be
Oh yeah.
incredible. Like they could probably sell one ad for 5 million right now during
Hmm.
like Miami Grand Prix or something.
Oh,
That's crazy.
absolutely. I guess that shows just how few people in America in particular were watching Formula One before 2019.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is like, that's absolutely insane that it goes from 5 to 75, because 75 even like seems like a steal. Like that is 75 million per year for one of the biggest, or sorry, the fastest growing sports in this country. So we'll see what happens. It could go, it could not be ESPN or Netflix. We could see like some sleeper come from behind, and take the rights. Who fucking knows? It could be, um, fucking HBO Max or like Hulu for all we know. Even though Netflix does have that sullied history with Formula One, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's I just really hope that they keep, regardless, that they don't try and American, because I will give ESPN credit that they, as far as I know, they just take basically the Sky Sports feed, which I shouldn't really give them credit for because it's less work. But
Mhm.
I say that to say I just want to be able to hear Crofty and Brundle do the broadcast. Like I
Right.
don't need Danica Patrick or Jolyon Palmer or
Yeah.
some guy that's not them doing the
Mm-hmm.
broadcast for me, or fucking Will Buxton. I don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
Because imagine I could see ESPN giving Will Buxton the bag, being like, "Oh, everybody knows him from Drive to Survive." That's
Yep.
what everybody wants to hear. I think once you get past the initial, because everyone loves Will Buxton at first because he explains it to you like an idiot, which you need. But then once you actually start learning things, Will Buxton grows on, like, gets old quick.
Yeah, a little bit.
Love you, Will, but that's what you get for not giving us a whatever that
Yeah.
thing's called.
Blame Netflix for that, Will. Sorry about that one, bud.
Yeah, it's not really his fault, but
Nah.
I guess we can get to some Baku.
Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan Grand Prix, another place that has some human rights violations going on, but that's Formula One for
Yeah.
you. Yeah, if we were to go into the calendar and take out every race where there's human rights violations, there'd be about 5 races. So
For real.
yeah, we can't go too much that every week. But I think just in terms of the track layout and previous runnings of the event, I think we have sort of an idea of how it might go. I think Red Bull, just based on what I've been reading, there's one link I sent you, and then there was another one that was more technical I didn't include. But basically, looks like the teams are going to have a decision to go. Obviously, they have this every week, but high downforce, slower straight line speeds, or faster straight line speeds, less downforce. And this is a track where it is actual decision you have to make because there's a huge long straight at the end, one of the longest, if not the longest. But then there's also a lot of tight turns through castle section that are similar to Monaco. So all things considered, it looks like Red Bull will have the advantage. Ferrari has had some downforce advantage, but they haven't had the straight line speed Red Bull has. And the Mercedes is still a question mark. It's not looking like this is going to be the best track for them. But like, what do you think as the Red Bull guy? Do you think it's kind of going to be between Max and Sergio, or do you think, like previous years, it's going to just be whatever happens?
Yeah, three newbies on the podium.
Yeah.
I don't know, because you'd think the easy answer is like, oh yeah, Max, Sergio, Charles, or throw in Carlos in there, P4, who knows? But I don't know. Like Max has had horrible luck at Baku. I think his only actual finish has been P4, so he's never actually gotten a podium at this circuit, which the circuit's only been around, 5 or 6 years. So
Yeah.
it's not the biggest. I mean, so is Max, but
Yeah.
he's had DNFs. He had that tire issue last year, and of course the Ricardo crash in 2019, or gosh, what was that? No, that was 2018, or maybe it was 2019, because I know Daniel won in 2018, I believe.
Yeah, I think Daniel won in 2017. I think 2018,
Oh,
the
it
Red
was the
Bulls had like
crash.
a Red Bull fiasco when Lewis
Yep.
Hamilton won.
Yeah, because Daniel was in Renault in 2019. So yeah, that was 2018. So yeah, I think Daniel 2017, Lewis 2018, Valtteri 2019, and of course they didn't have the race there in 2020 because of COVID. But
Yeah, in Paris
last
last year.
year, mm-hmm.
So with 4 different winners, 4 different pole sitters. The pole, like Leclerc was on pole last year. He didn't fare so well, but in the
Mm-hmm.
end he kind of did. But I think we should just look back at last year's Baku because it was insane. Took some notes down. It was a wild
Mm-hmm.
race.
It
Probably
was.
maybe the best. Like if you take out the standings drama, that maybe the best actual race of the year in terms of just craziness. Because at the start of the race, we had Charles Leclerc on pole, and Ferrari was the 3rd fastest car for sure last year,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even 4th at this point in the year. Charles had a great quality, put it on pole, and then it was Hamilton behind him, and then Verstappen. I think Perez was 6th going
Mm-hmm.
in. But within the first few laps, the leaders, Hamilton passed Leclerc, and then Verstappen
Yeah.
passed Leclerc, and then Perez passed Leclerc. So he was in 4th. Hamilton was in 1st. Then the Red Bulls had better pit strategy. They overcut, I believe it's called, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
So it was going along pretty decently in like the first 30 laps. It was the Red Bulls. Actually, at one point, Sebastian Vettel was in first because he hadn't pitted yet. And it was Sebastian Vettel, then Verstappen, then Perez, then Hamilton, then Leclerc. So that was cool. But then lap 31, Lance Stroll is going down the straight. And I don't know what happened, but he just starts jittering and then spins around and crashes. Not the best for Lancey boy. That brings out a yellow flag, obviously. And then lap 35 is a restart. This is when Vettel kind of made his move. Vettel gets up into fourth place right then. So we had Verstappen, Perez, Hamilton, Vettel. But it was going along cruising. And then with like 5 laps left, everything went to shit.
Yeah.
Verstappen leading, he's going to win the race. Comes around the last turn, or going into the last bend, and his tire just explodes, goes into the wall. He was pissed off, obviously. So they have to have a red flag because there's shit all over the track. Then it takes them a few laps to obviously clean that up. So lap 50, they do the restart. It's a 51 lap race. So there's 2 laps, basically a 2-lap shootout. Hamilton. So it goes, yeah, right. So it's Perez, Hamilton, and then Vettel starting the restart. Hamilton guns it off the start. He's really good at race starts.
Smoky. He had those smoky ass brakes.
There was a cool shot. Yeah, the brakes are just sizzling. But yeah, he pulls in front of Perez. Notoriously good race start. He pulls in front of Perez, but he hit something with the magic button. He hit the wrong button or something. He just locks up, goes straight through turn 1. So he's basically out of the race. He drops back. So the top 2 guys in the championship are out of the race. And it's Perez, he'd only done like 5 races for Red Bull at this point. Leclerc, who's in a 3rd best car, not any type of title contender last year. And then Vettel, who is Sebastian Vettel, but he hasn't been up there at all recently. And then you had Gasly on another inferior car, great driving, and Lando Norris. All 5 of these guys coming around with 1 lap left. All 5 of them are just interchanging, battling. So that was incredible. I definitely recommend going back to watch that. Crofty and Brundle just losing their minds.
Yeah.
It's great. But in the end, Perez wins his first win with Red Bull. He obviously just got his 2nd at Monaco. And then Sebastian Vettel comes 2nd. Almost wins the damn thing. That would have been incredible. But yeah, Vettel comes 2nd. Gasly passes Leclerc at the end to come 3rd. So just a crazy podium. Like the craziest podium we had last year, I think. Maybe aside from
Hungary.
Monza. Hungary is pretty crazy. But
Monza too, yeah.
Good too. Ricardo.
The McLaren one too.
Yeah. But Sebastian Vettel, nobody would have thought. Like that's what I'm saying. I don't know that it's like you can look at all the numbers and say, yeah, Red Bull looks like they have the car for this track, but it hasn't been like a Monaco where you put it on pole, you're going to win. Like things happen here.
Oh, for sure. It's that long straight, dude. It's like,
yeah,
Baku.
Gold.
Oh yeah. But it's no secret. Baku's one of our favorite tracks. So it's going to be a blast. I definitely recommend going back and watching the race. I watched the highlights for last year's Baku right before we started recording. It's just so amazing. And it sucks that Vettel technically only has 1 podium from last year because they DQ'd him in Hungary. But gosh, I will say Baku last year, I had watched last season was like the first season, obviously, that I watched the entire season. But Baku, bro, that felt like the first time that I really got to see like real Formula drama and action live. It was because like I had already made the decision. I was like, Max is my guy. I love Sergio, Red Bull all the way. And then when Lewis it went off, bro, I was screaming. It was such an amazing viewing experience. So I'm super, super happy for this weekend. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, me too. And I was on the opposite of that because it was like, oh no, Max is going to win. He's actually going to contend this year. And then he just out of nowhere tire blows. So I was like, yeah, let's go, Lewis.
Yeah, you're like, Lewis is
going to pass him. Oh yeah, I was like, he'll pass him on the restart. He's going to take it for sure. And he did pass him. And I was like, yeah. And he just blows right through turn 1, hit something with the magic. I don't know. But
I think that's like their equivalent of like the overtake.
Yeah, something happened where he just gone right through turn 1. So he was basically out of the race. But yeah, that was fascinating. Good stuff.
Oh yeah, he said in a post-race interview about the magic button. I'm guessing it's the overtake, but he said that it increases speed, but it locks, I think, the back brakes just to increase like that speed. So basically, he had no like rear brakes, which just
Yeah.
caused him to just take off. So, God, I hope we get some crazy shit this year because I mean, it's a hard track. Like
Yeah.
it's for sure, without a doubt, like top three, maybe even my favorite track in the F1 game. But dude, that like little hairpin through the castle where you gotta like
God.
tease. Oh my God,
That whole
it's.
section is so hard, and with the tire dag we've seen this year, like I
Mhm.
mean, last year it happened to Max, like his tire blew, with like 5 laps left, and this year tires have been an issue in general. So strategy and how they manage the tires, and then also like what I said about the difference in straight line speed and downforce. Like some cars might set themselves up for qualifying to be better in qualifying, but then that'll affect them in the race because they won't have like they won't be able to maneuver as well, but they'll be a little bit
Yeah.
faster. So it's going to be very, very interesting. A lot of strategies, very different than Monaco, very
Oh
different.
no,
And
straight
then
up.
yeah, and so the times I mentioned the times last week. I thought they were actually a little bit worse than they are. They're not that bad. It is early, but it's not that bad. So we have FP1, FP2, Friday 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. Practice 3, Saturday at 7 a.m. Qualifying Saturday at 10 a.m. So not too bad, 10 to 11 a.m. And then we'll
Yeah.
do our post-quali pre-race short podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Get everybody that missed quali up to date. And then the
Absolutely.
race is Sunday morning at 7 a.m. So that is a little early, but that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Seven's not too bad
No,
at all. It's honestly I think seven is like my cutoff. Like if it was six, I would be like, oh fuck. But
yeah,
seven is like I can get up, I can have like a little like whether it's coffee or just like water, get a little breakfast. It's just awesome to get up super early and just enjoy the race because then you got the rest of your day to either enjoy the victory or grovel in pain.
yeah. Hopefully, hopefully a little better for my side this time, but
I
we'll
hope
see.
so.
We have a record that's going to be broken this week. You want to read that one?
Yeah, Fernando Alonso, right?
Yep, yep. I put
Yes.
the yeah.
Let's do it. Yes. As the lights go out on Sunday afternoon, Fernando Alonso will pass Michael Schumacher and set a new record for longest career in Formula One history. Not as a Spanish driver, not as a Renault McLaren, as a Formula One driver. Starting in 2001 in Minardi, Alonso will have competed in F1 for 21 years, 3 months, and 1 day after this Grand Prix in Baku. In that time, Alonso has collected 2 world titles, 32 wins, 98 podiums, and 22 pole positions. The majority of that not completed in the past 7 or 8 years. So,
Yeah.
legendary career. There's now like two weekends in a row where we're having some records being broken. First Sergio, now Alonso. So,
Yeah.
props to him. The Alpine is looking great. So like let's hope Fernando can do what Vettel did last year if Vettel's not able to.
Yeah. Alonso's not my favorite driver, but let's get him to 100. Let's get him to 100 podiums for the end of his career.
Oh
I
yeah.
will say, I think so. 21 years of driving. I don't have the math, but I think there's one guy on the grid that could break this record, and his name's not Max Verstappen. Who do you think? Who do you think I'm thinking of?
Lewis? Oh, okay. Let's see. Do you think somebody could beat this record for
Simply
longest
because
Formula One
there's
career?
no way this person can lose their seat. As long as this team is around, this person
Oh.
will be.
Is it? Yeah,
Dan!
I was about to go. Is it the man with the father? Dude,
Give me one more year, Dan.
yeah, he's saying that in 2032.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He could, as long as Aston Martin's a team, his dad's not going to put someone else in the car.
Yeah, you got to wonder how long the Strolls will stick it out. I mean, they went from Williams to now to Racing Point to now Aston Martin. So, God, that is really funny to think about. That in from 2001 to so that would be like 2040. Or no,
Yeah,
Lance has been in Formula One for like 5 years.
a
So
while, yeah.
2038, 2037. That'd be so funny to be like Lance Stroll at the end of the the Moon GP.
Yeah, with 0 race wins and 1 podium.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Jesus Christ.
Actually, I saw another thing that's surprising. Maybe it shouldn't be, but so Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, I could be wrong on this. As I remember it, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc have the same amount of poles in their career. That's pole positions in their entire career, but Max has twice the amount of wins or something like that. Or maybe even more than twice the amount. It's something like that. It's very surprising because Charles has put it on pole quite a few times, but he doesn't have very many wins.
He has, especially you think like when he first started Ferrari, he was getting like insane results. So unfortunately, that does not surprise me in the slightest because he just has horrible, horrible luck. Like poor Charles. Jesus Christ.
Get up 1 sec.
You're 100% correct. They both have 14 pole positions. That is dead on.
And then so how many wins Charles Leclerc wins career? Let's see.
Max Verstappen has
Charles has 4 wins, 17 podiums, and
Max has 24 wins.
Oh wow! And how many podiums? 17.
Let's see. As of 2022, he has achieved 24 wins, 14 pole positions. It does not say
so I guess
podium
add
positions.
them up from this year. Oh yeah, podium. I was thinking pole.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I was looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, 14 poles for both, I guess, and then Charles only has 4 wins, and Max has 24.
Yeah,
6. Like that's pretty impressive.
It shows just like I don't know. Like I think it's totally reasonable to say that they're like neck and neck as far as skill level goes, but man, fate is just it's a bitch, bro. It's like I mean, those two they have the same amount of pole positions. They are equally there's no debating they are equally successful in qualifying, but Max has won multiple times when he hasn't had pole. He has just managed to do so much more. And yeah, I mean, it's because of the car, it's because of the team, but man, that is just like it's just a fascinating comparison. It really is, and all on Pirelli. One thing that you mentioned Max and Lance's shunts last year. I was honestly a little shocked that Pirelli didn't get like a little more shit for that because I remember like reading in a lot of like the threads that Sunday that that is not normal. Like there's been a lot of like tire problems this season in particular, but 2 random tire blowouts with no sign of like real damage. I mean, you can see like huge like scuffs and buff marks, but both of those guys like had no signs that was happening at all. And for like critical failures like that to happen to 2 different drivers in the same day, it's massive failure. So
oh yeah, for sure.
I hope it doesn't happen again.
I certainly hope so too. It was, and I remember it was a talking point for like maybe a week after, but since that point in the calendar where the races are happening so fast that I guess it just didn't stick. But yeah, if it happens again, it's gonna be a talking point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else? We don't have too much more to get through. F1 Manager 2022, the new F1 video game is coming out. They finally have a release date and a full trailer. I watched the trailer. Honestly, it looks really cool. Like it is different than F1. This was kind of what we were worried about. It is quite different than the normal F1 game. So the release date is August 30th. You can get it August 25th with pre-order. Yeah, I'm really. We've already gone through the details of the game and stuff, but basically, you're more of like the Toto Wolff, Christian Horner, managing the team, managing the strategies, managing the tires. But the way they have it, like it visually looks stunning. It looks like it's not going to be like overwhelming with the learning curve. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to give it a shot. I might actually. I've never really been a PC guy, but I think this is a game that might be beneficial to have on PC.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna get F1 Manager on my laptop because it looks really sick. I'm definitely impressed. It somehow looks better than F1 2022. That might be a little controversial, but it's true. It's 100% true.
Yeah, and F1 2022 comes out July 1st. We still don't they're putting out stuff of this new like F1 Life thing, which doesn't really interest me. Like it's like
No.
2K, NBA 2K had it, but they had made a whole immersive world with it. This is just like, what color couch do you want to have? Like, I don't fucking care.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, like let me race. And like there are some other new stuff that looks pretty good, but we're gonna do a full like review of that game because we're both the amount of hours I put into that game.
Oh yeah.
I can do a nice review of it. And then on other Formula One related media stuff, there is, I think I mentioned this a few months ago, but there's a few more details. Brad Pitt's Formula One racing movie has been purchased by Apple.
Interesting.
So Apple Films has emerged as the highest bidder for Brad Pitt's upcoming movie about Formula One racing. So it's directed by the guy that just did Top Gun, which is getting incredible reviews. I haven't seen it yet. I want to.
Mm-hmm. Oh my
That's
God, yeah.
reviews.
Yeah, Joseph Kaczynski.
Yeah, Kaczynski, however you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, which obviously a big name.
Absolutely.
Brad Pitt's company is also producing it, and 7-time Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton
Yes,
is also
sir.
producing it. Brad Pitt is playing a driver who comes out of retirement, a la, I don't know, Kimi Räikkönen, to compete alongside a rookie driver, or Fernando Alonso did that. Let me say that again. Brad Pitt is playing a driver who comes out of retirement to compete alongside a rookie driver and the titans of the sport. Yeah, that's pretty much all we have for what it's about. I mean, very vague. That's every racing movie basically has that plot. But
yeah.
that cast and that talent around it, pretty excited.
Yeah, they should call it Breaking Point.
Just get with that fucking guy in there that's always a douchebag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be funny.
I did not realize it would be an original story, like drivers that have not existed before.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'm just imagining they're gonna, at first, this old guy's gonna come in. This will be this new hotshot rookie, and they're gonna clash because it's the new school versus the old school. But then eventually they're gonna become teammates, and the old guy's gonna help the new guy get his first title or something, or the new guy will help the old guy get his last title, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll all learn together, and so I could see it just being like the typical Hollywood. But with that cast, you never know. That cast of characters. I don't know.
I hope we get some like real like cool Formula One like cinematics. That's all I want. Like let's get some, like, even if the cars are like CG, let's get some good sound design. Brad Pitt, I'd say for the most part, the projects he's involved with are for the most part like amazing. Off the top of my head, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was one of the best movies in the last decade that I've seen. I love that movie so much. He's such a good actor. So
he was in Ford vs Ferrari, wasn't he?
I
know Christian
think
Bale was.
So yeah,
That movie was really good too, and that's obviously cars. It's very similar what it's about. So
yeah, I don't think he was in that. That was Matt Damon and Christian Bale.
and Bale. Okay,
that's also a great
and
movie.
Some white
though.
Guys. Yeah, that was a great movie. So yeah, I mean, anything to get more eyes on Formula One.
Absolutely.
Like it. What else? I think that's pretty much all we got. Next week's a big week for this guy right here because we got the Canadian Grand Prix. So I'm gonna have a lot of stuff coming from there. We got our business cards in. Gonna be leaving those around town. Gonna take lots of videos and stuff to send to you to post. And
oh my God,
I'll have a lot of cool stories hopefully to regale on the next podcast. But our actual next podcast is going to be Saturday afternoon after the quali if we're not too tired. But I think it's at like 10 a.m. So I think we'll be okay.
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I've sort of talked a lot this episode, so I apologize for that.
No, you're good. I want to say on record, shout out to you. You're always the one who does all the notes. You do all the research. You're the producer. So just shout out to you for all the hard work you do for the show. Because, I mean, yes, I could sit here and read all the notes that you did, but I mean, you do a great job. So the Montreal GP, I did. That's crazy. There's no gap in between Baku and Montreal. I am so excited. I'm so fucking jealous that you're getting to see an F1 race, but at the same time, I'm grateful for all the extra footage that we're gonna get. Next episode, we're gonna show our business cards. We'll blur out our email and phone number and all that shit. But before we sign off, I did do a little Google search and a little bit of math while we've been talking for the past 5 minutes. So Pirelli, it does have to do with Lance and Max. So I did shit on Pirelli a little bit, last year with Baku with their critical failures, but just to put it into a little bit of perspective, because I think I don't know if it was the CEO, but like the head of Pirelli was like, if F1 goes to a 24 race week or year, it will be a nightmare. So every single weekend, every team gets 13 sets of dry tires. They get 4 sets of intermediates and 3 sets of full wets. So every single weekend, Pirelli is bringing 520 brand new dry tires and 280 wet tires. So 800 tires they're bringing every single GP weekend. So the logistics and the money behind that has got to be insane. Every time you see behind the scenes of like the paddock and the garage, it is just, you can just see the stacks of all the tires and the wrapping. So
Yeah.
that is just like an insane amount of tires. So I joke and I critique a little bit, but at the same time, I acknowledge all the hard work that those people do, because it cannot be even remotely easy, and it's probably extremely stressful. So
Just
props
the
to them.
logistics, like logistically, that's insane.
Yep.
I did have one more thing I forgot to add. The budget cap's obviously been a big talking point because it's the first real like hard budget cap they have. I'm not really sure why, but Williams got a $25,000 fine for circumventing the budget somehow. It seems weird because they're at the bottom. But the main thing is there's been a big talk of, especially the teams at the top that spend the most, about how they literally have no idea how they're going to make it under this budget cap. I think it's a little bit of trying to get them to raise the cap when they probably can figure out, and they should figure out a way to fit under the cap. But they've got a little bit of help now because the Russian race, they're not rescheduling it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one less race that they have to fit into their budget. So that might help teams a little bit. But I don't know if it's like just classic Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari complaining to try and help them out, or if it's serious, like if we get to the end of the year and they're like, oh, we just can't, like we're out of money. I don't know. That'd be funny. Like, well,
Yeah.
The title championship this year goes to Nicholas Latifi because he's the only one that can race the last 5 races.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. It's like last year when it was just Lewis on the grid, but it's just Latifi.
He still crashes.
he's still at the back of the grid. There's just nobody in front of him.
Yeah.
What would happen? This is a random thought, but that weekend when it was just Lewis and he didn't come into the pits for slicks, if like Latifi had stayed, it would have just been Lewis and then way far away, just another random car. Just the mental image of that is so fucking funny to me.
Yeah, that image is always going to be great. It would have been even better if Lewis would have won the title last year, but yeah. I love that image.
Before we sign off regarding the budget caps, I saw a pretty interesting take on that from Gunther, actually, and it makes complete total sense. You see all these top teams, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, complaining that the budget cap is not enough for them, but that's there to create equality, to have every team have an equal chance. Like if Red Bull spends too much money and they're not able to bring any sort of upgrades or any sort of boosts for like the last 3 races, that's good. That's a good thing. That means that now Haas, they may have waited. They may have, who knows? They're bringing their upgrades. That gives them more of a shot. It's like, it makes no sense. It's Formula One politics. It's, classic, but it's the same logic. It to me, that doesn't make sense. Is like, we don't want Andretti or Porsche or any of these other companies in because that's more competition for us and less money for us. It's like, motherfucker, that's sports.
Yeah, it's literally the point, and that's what we all want to see. And like, exactly. Yeah, Gasly, I think Gasly had a quote that just came out. It was like something along the lines of that he's sad to see the gap between the top teams and the midfield teams already, based on everything we were told. But I can kind of see where he's coming from, because like there is a gap, but at the same time, I think this over the course of the season, we're going to see that this budget cap kind of does help that a little bit, because if these teams are going so far ahead of the budget, that's their own fault. Like there's a reason why Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes are always near the top, especially Red Bull and Mercedes, because the last years they've just spent the most money.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, you just can't spend that much money. Like that makes it more even.
And also that, I know that just doesn't, that quote from Gasly doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because there's never, you can quote me on this for the rest of my life, there will never be a time in Formula One where you look at, like, let's say the halfway point of the season, there will never be a time when the first place team is less than 150, 200 points away from the last team. It's been like that for like ever. There's never been a time when, I think there's definitely been times when like 4 drivers were fighting for the championship in a year, but you are never, you are never ever going to see like Haas and Red Bull fighting it out, and like Ferrari. It's just, it's not going to happen. You're going to have,
than it was last year, right? Like Haas was
yes,
never ever going to get a point last year unless there was something insane. Same like Williams, like there were just teams that were so far behind. Now every team has at least 1 point this year. There's a little closer. Yeah, maybe it's not as much as they'd hope for. I think Gasly's more upset that he's not in the best car and that he's being outperformed by his teammate. But
yeah, that's a solid take.
Classic.
But it's definitely the way it is. And yeah, Gasly's not been doing great, but it's arguably better than it was last year, especially when you look at the back of the field and the midfield. It's just they're, Red Bull and Ferrari have sort of taken off, but these midfield battles are like going to be like some of the most interesting battles that we see. The battle for 4th, the battle for 5th, 6th, it's 3rd even. If like, let's say Red Bull completely take off or Ferrari completely take off, Mercedes potentially has the chance to come back and fight for a 2nd. You never know. So I've never understood the argument of we want less competition or less fairness. It's stupid. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
but that's all I have to say.
Hey, no, I agree. The more challenges, like the better to overcome. Like, I don't know, if everybody has 10 problems in one of them, then half the guys are just gonna be like, all right, fuck it. Then that gives you an advantage over half the guys. So
yeah,
I never understand why. Yeah, it's like when I played golf growing up. It's like if there was ever a day where it was raining, I knew half the guys were pretty much out of it already because they were just like, oh, I don't play good in the rain. It's like, well, then you're out of it already. I've already beat half the guys here.
There you go.
Like, it's all mindset. So
absolutely.
But that being said, FIA president doesn't want to hear about any mental health or any talk of any mindset. So
no,
we'll keep
I'm gonna hold my tongue on that one. Well, as this podcast grows on, I'm sure we will have harder stances, maybe some more sort of like interesting. I guess I'm trying to choose my words very carefully. We might have some more interesting, some more hot opinions, but which I'll try to keep it a little more low key for now. We're still trying to get more viewers.
Yeah.
I can't just come out here and be like, "Fuck you," just like.
I know.
Hey, you know what? Maybe that'll give us some views. Just screaming at the
camera. There's two ways. Sometimes it gets you views quicker, but it's not sustainable. No, we're not that guy. We got to be ourselves.
Absolutely.
You're not that guy, pal.
You're not that. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. But yes, is there anything else you wanted to discuss before we sign off here?
No, that's it. We'll be back on Saturday, but yes, get us out of here.
All right. Yes, we are the Hard or Soft F1 podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Follow us at Hard or Soft F1 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We have multiple. We have a lot of different content coming out. I'm going to be posting my first ever rant, I guess I'm calling it, series this week. I'm definitely going to hope to have that out right on Friday, at the very least Saturday morning before qualifying. And also, we're not going to get too much into it, but me and you are also working on starting like sort of like a Formula One video essay series. So we got a lot of cool stuff in the bag. And of course, with Azerbaijan, I'm going to post lots of shorts from this episode and of course next episode. So follow us on all our social media, rate us 5 stars. Every time you rate us 5 stars, it gets us countless more viewers. So like us, follow us, rate us. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you in Azerbaijan.